Hey y'all, it's Chris with Fake Rich and Tired, and I am back on this beautiful, it's finally starting to feel like fall day. My dog almost fell out the window. In South Carolina. And I am coming to you today. It's so funny that I've been trying to figure out like how to say this without like offending everybody or losing a bunch of you guys, because I know that a lot of the reason that this page has been established is regarding budgeting and all that great stuff. But I have, in some sense of the word, I don't write down my budget anymore. And here is why. So first of all, shout out to Tarshell B, who I absolutely adore. She is just such a wonderful and fantastic person. Sorry, let me let these windows up. I'm sorry, I know y'all probably can't hear me. I have to lock the windows and let them up when my dog is in the car. But shout out to you, Tarshell B. She mentioned this in a recent video, and it's just been crazy that I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. I just didn't know how to bring it up, but I have stopped writing down my budget. And the reason for this is, I'm paraphrasing, but if you think about what the great mother goddess Erykah Badu said, she said, basically, if you want to see some stuff happen, take a pen and write it down, right? So that's so powerful to me. Not only what you voice and you say aloud, I feel like you can manifest, but I feel like what you write down, remember, write the vision for my spiritual people. What you write down manifests a whole lot. What I found in writing down my budget is how many limitations that I am placing on my life. And the more and more I listen to the podcasts and the YouTube videos and things from wealthy people, the more and more I hear that they do not budget. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't have a budget in mind, and I'll specify and I'll clear up what I mean by I don't. It's not that I don't budget. I don't write down my budget anymore. But to become wealthy, having those limitations on my income, because that's what I'm doing. I'm writing down, I think I'm going to bring in, for example, $2,000 this month. Well, what was happening was a lot of those times we would only be bringing in that exact $2,000 I write down, or that exact whatever the amount was that we were writing down at the time. And the more and more that I listen to the videos and things that talk about just manifesting and just building wealth and all these other things, the more that I realize I'm limiting myself. I'm limiting my income right now. Even though there's, a piece of it that says, miscellaneous income in my budget, but like saying, okay, this is $4,000 this month and this is how much of it we can spend, and blah, blah, blah. Like, that was setting a limitation on my income. So I've changed it up, and I'm gonna do it in writing and show you all what we're doing and the approach that we're taking. And there's a couple reasons for that. One of them is, I don't know if you all already know, but we relocated to South Carolina, for those of you who just start following us, and welcome to the page if you have. In that relocation, the job that I thought I was gonna get, that fell through. But that's how I just know that the universe works, because I really just don't feel like I'm made to work in corporate America. And so what we decided to do is, my husband's like, look, I can sustain you stay home, work building the brands as we've been trying to do. I hate saying that word, that's why I hesitated, y'all. But work building the brands that we've been working on. Start building up more on your consulting side. So I've been doing some more HR consulting work. And I got a couple side hustles. I'm doing some virtual associate work, and just another really, really, really part-time job. Like it's almost not even worth going, but that's a whole nother story. So anyway, in that time, we've had to, of course, adjust the income because we're not bringing home high six figures anymore, with me not working in the same capacity as I was before. So writing all that down was depressing because I'm like, oh, well, my check won't be, $2,000 this week. It'll be, maybe $500, hell, maybe $200, depending on how many consulting clients I get. My clients are just now getting solid with my virtual associate thing that I'm doing. So like, it was just depressing looking at those numbers. And so to be honest, for several cycles, I just didn't look at the numbers. I went grocery shopping and just had a mindset of, how much I want to get, being mindful of what I'm spending when I'm grocery shopping, working to not overbuy because I tend to overbuy a lot. I do, y'all. I just overbuy. I'm gonna work on that. That's another video. But just in those few cycles, what manifested was so much more than we could ever even think of. Now, I'll be honest with you all. With our relocation, my husband's annual bonus, like there were a few things that set us up from the time he moved in April, because we were paying rent in 2 different places. Like there was a lot going on. So we had some reserves. So don't get me wrong. Like don't, think that, we have just been like super surviving like we were before and kicking it hard like we were before. Like I truly understand that we're not earning the dollars that we were earning before. But there were those few months and we still got a little bit left of the reserves that we put aside to make sure that we kept a roof over our head, and that our minimum payments, at least on our debts, would be covered for those months. So don't get me wrong there. But what I realized is that as soon as I was about to think about stop worrying, and that's why I love my husband. He's such a blessing. It's crazy that I'm the optimist, but he's always the one that's like, Chris, chill. We got this. It's gonna work out. And let me tell you how stuff works out. So like the first time it got scary and stuff was happening. So I was like, what are we gonna do? Consulting was like not even like coming through. I think I had one client and that like whatever. And then my VA accounts had started up. Like that stuff had been pushed back. So I wasn't getting that income. So at one point I was like, oh my God, like we got to dip into our reserves. Like what's going on, blah, blah, blah. When I tell y'all, we looked up and we had a check in the mail for, I would say the first check was like $400. It was just rent. We were not expecting it. It came from nowhere. And that helped us cover some necessities. So I'm like, oh, I ain't got to pull from the reserves now. Like, dope, cool, that worked out. And this is all during that time that I just wasn't writing down a budget and limiting that amount that I'm putting on that budget number, not that income number, right? So then, what I made sure to do is I looked at our bills. I sat down, I looked at what our bills are, and I made sure that I knew that the amount of those bills, and I don't have the number with me now, but what I made sure to do is make sure that this account has that amount in it each month to cover the bills. Like that's the goal. I'm not limiting my income, but what I am making sure of is that I can cover my bills, right? So that's part of the budgeting side for me. So even though I'm not writing down a budget and writing down, okay, I got this bill, this bill, this bill, and this bill, and I do to write down my bills, but I am not writing down an income. What I'm doing is totaling what I need and making sure that we got that. And what we've had is that and more. So I told y'all about the $400 check, right? Cool. So then what we forgot about is we had a trip coming up, and it's like, oh man, forgot we had this trip for. What was great was everything was paid for. Trip all inclusive was paid for long time ago. Flights were paid for a long time ago. Then we had an issue with our passports. It's like, God dog it. So we had to go get expedited passports done. We had to go drive to Atlanta to get that done. Like, that was going to eat into our reserves. Let me tell y'all how stuff manifests, though. The day that we were about to drive to Atlanta was the day that we had to leave for our trip, right? My husband goes to the mailbox. He looks at this piece of mail. He's like, what in the world is this? Like, I don't even know what this is. Like, he was almost nervous to open it because it looked so awkward. He opened it and thought it was a scam. And not to put all our business out there, and I'm not even going to say who it came from or how it came, but he opened it. It was a check for $6,000. Yeah, like, seriously, y'all, out of nowhere. We were not expecting it. Like, this wasn't like a tax refund or something like that where we're like, oh, it might come later. Like, this was literally, like, if you believe in God, how the universe works, whatever it was like, stop worrying, I got y'all. And I realized when we got that $6,000 check, I need to stop worrying so much. And I know I should have been realized that because my husband keeps telling me that anyway. But when we got that check in the mail, and since then we've gotten a couple more checks. They just random monies that are appearing, and I'm so thankful for it. But it's been since I stopped writing down, oh, income for this month is $4,000 or whatever the income was, and start really just paying attention to our budget and our bills and what we need to sustain. Even in the conversation, because I had a conversation with the owner of the virtual associate agency that I'm working with, and at that time she was like, well, tell me so that I can know what types of accounts to put you on or what to be looking out for you. Like, what is the number you're going to need to sustain? She's like, I know I'm not going to be able to pay you right now what you were making in your corporate job, but if you had to say there's a number that you need to sustain to pay your bills, what would that number be? And I think when I was like, well, look, give me a minute to add it up and whatever. When I came back to her, I was like, okay, if we could do $3,500, I can sustain, and I could work with that until we can build up, because we're working on building. And I had that written down in my journal, and we talked through that, and she still has like that number in mind. And that's fine if that's what I end up making as a VA. However, I've scratched that number out of my journal because I feel like I've limited myself. And since I've scratched that number out of my journal, just the money that we've been seeing, like the stuff that's been happening, y'all, it's been amazing. And I know some people will look at this video and think that I'm absolutely crazy and that I've lost my mind. But seriously, hear me out. When you write something down, you are truly manifesting it. When you say it, you're putting it in the atmosphere, and something about saying it makes it happen. And when you write it down, something about that, when you do that, you put that pen to the paper, the power of the pen is so powerful, y'all. So if I could tell you anything, it would be, I'm not saying everybody do this, but what I'm saying is understand the power, not just of your words, but of the pen. and I will come back to you guys and show you how we're doing with our budget. So you all take care. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Fake Rich and Tired, Facebook, Fake Rich and Tired. Stay with us, y'all. We on this journey, and we're going to be doing it good. Love y'all. Bye.